Step inside a typical British classroom of the 1950s, and the first thing that strikes you is the stillness. Wooden desks stand in perfectly straight rows, polished so often they reflect the morning light. The floor carries the faint scent of varnish, and a soft cloud of chalk dust floats gently above the blackboard, catching the sun like tiny sparks. Every pupil sits upright, hands neatly folded, eyes fixed forward as if the entire room shares one quiet breath. It feels ordered, disciplined, almost ceremonial. And as you look around, you can't help thinking, can you imagine this happening today? The contrast is immediate. A world where silence was expected, structure was normal, and classrooms ran with almost military precision. This frozen moment is the doorway into a very different era, leading us naturally into the wider story of how schools shaped post-war Britain. To understand those classrooms, we have to step back into the Britain that shaped them. In the years after the war, the country was rebuilding not just streets and homes, but a sense of structure and purpose. Schools became symbols of that effort. With class sizes often stretching far beyond what we'd consider manageable today, routines weren't just helpful, they were essential. Every morning began with neatly handwritten timetables pinned to notice boards, their ink slightly smudged from eager fingers. Uniforms felt scratchy against young skin, yet they carried a quiet pride, a reminder that everyone was part of something bigger. Inside the classrooms, blackboards squeaked with every stroke, and teachers relied on clear order to keep dozens of pupils focused. Britain craved stability, and its schools mirrored that desire with precision and predictability. Even the smallest details, the shuffle of polished shoes, the rustle of exercise books, reflected a nation trying to find calm after years of uncertainty. And it was within this atmosphere that the daily rules of school life took shape, setting the stage for the practices that would soon follow. What's truly surprising is just how many everyday rules would leave modern parents raising their eyebrows. Corridors, for instance, were expected to be completely silent. Not quiet, silent. You could hear the echo of shoes long before you saw the pupils walking in tidy, single-file lines. Posture mattered too. Sitting upright wasn't a suggestion, it was a standard. Teachers were always addressed formally, and even the youngest children understood the importance of tone and respect. Punctuality was treated almost like a duty. Being even a minute late meant standing outside the classroom until permission was granted to enter, usually with every eye watching. Then there were the forgotten rituals that defined mornings across the country. Pupils lined up outside in every season, rain, wind, or pale winter sun, waiting for the day to officially begin. Some schools opened with short drills or coordinated stretches designed to focus the mind. Collective recitations followed, with entire classes speaking in perfect unison, the rhythm rising and falling like a chant. And once lessons started, silence returned. Complete silence. Only the scratch of pencils and the steady voice of the teacher filled the room, setting the tone for everything that came next. If you close your eyes, you can almost hear it. The sharp scrape of chalk cutting across a blackboard, a sound so familiar it became part of the rhythm of school days. Every few minutes, a wooden ruler tapped gently on a desk to bring wandering minds back to focus, the sound echoing through rooms that were often colder than we remember. Winters felt especially sharp. Pupils kept their hands tucked inside sleeves between writing tasks, and the air held that unmistakable mix of old textbooks, fresh ink, and polished floors. Teachers stood at the center of it all, unquestioned authority figures whose presence alone commanded attention. A raised eyebrow could silence a row instantly, and even tiny gestures carried weight. Raising your hand the wrong way, answering too slowly, sitting even slightly slouched. Each moment felt larger than life when you were young. Yet, despite the strictness, there was something strangely comforting about the predictability of it. Everyone knew the rules, the signals, the sounds, and this shared atmosphere shaped how pupils understood discipline, respect, and routine, creating a foundation that influenced everything that followed in their school day. Some of the everyday practices in 1950s classrooms feel almost unbelievable now, yet they were woven into the routine without anyone thinking twice. Mental arithmetic drills, for example, were a daily ritual. The teacher would call out numbers at a brisk pace, and pupils were expected to answer instantly, as if their minds were ticking machines. It wasn't meant to be intimidating. It was simply how learning worked, sharpening quick thinking before lessons even began. Then came the group recitations. Entire classes would speak in unison, repeating poems, times tables, or short passages with a rhythm that filled the room. It created a sense of unity, even if you didn't always understand why you were chanting something for the 10th time. And who could forget the quirky reward systems? Small star stickers, handwritten notes of praise, or the honor of being chosen to collect exercise books felt like enormous achievements. These harmless traditions shaped classroom culture in ways we rarely talk about today. They added structure, motivation, and a sense of occasion to even the simplest tasks, guiding pupils through their day with quiet encouragement. What lingers most in people's memories isn't just the rules or routines, but the emotional weight of growing up in those classrooms. Earning a small gold star sticker felt like lifting a trophy. It shone on the page as proof that you'd done something right in a world where praise was quiet, but deeply meaningful. At the same time, the fear of making a simple mistake felt enormous. A crossed-out answer or a misplaced book could send a ripple of worry through your stomach, because everything in those rooms carried a sense of importance. Yet, woven into that pressure was a powerful feeling of community. Everyone wore the same uniform, followed the same rituals, and moved through the day as one. That sameness created a sense of belonging that's hard to describe today. It taught pupils to look out for each other, to work patiently, to respect shared spaces and shared silence. These environments shaped more than academic skills. They built resilience, responsibility, and a quiet pride in doing things properly. And looking back now, there's a soft melancholy in remembering how something so strict could also feel so steady, guiding children through a world that was still finding its feet. Looking at today's classrooms, it's hard to imagine many of those old routines surviving for even a moment. Modern pupils speak more freely, lessons are interactive, and teachers encourage discussion rather than silence. Communication feels warmer, and student voices carry more weight than they ever did in the 1950s. Yet when we look back, it's clear that both eras shaped Britain in their own way. The old system offered structure, pride, and a shared rhythm, even if it felt strict through young eyes. Today's approach values confidence, creativity, and individuality. And somewhere between the two lies the story of how British education evolved, a reminder that every generation learns differently, but each leaves something behind worth remembering.